That's why can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I have been literally talking for the last 5 minutes and nobody could hear me. Please tell me that's not the case. Okay, please, can I see the comments now? I was not in my comment screen. So please tell me you can hear me now. Can somebody post a comment on whether you can hear me? Because then I would want to.
There's no audio.
You're on live right now, and I'm hoping there's audio now.
Okay.
So they're gonna hear your voice. I hope everything is caught up. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, thanks, Rebecca. Thanks, Christy. Okay, let's get real for a second. This is the entire point. So let's get real for a second before I get back into all of the things that literally I just went through in the introduction of this whole discussion around AI. The whole point of this, this episode, this series is about inside power. And that's why it's called Inside Power. And it's not just called, hey, let's discuss AI, because inside power is about the power dynamics that impact us every single day. What we just experienced was an internal power dynamic. And as I said in my beautiful opening that I guess nobody actually heard, the power dynamics that really we struggle with, that's what we're going to talk about in this series, our internal power dynamics. Am I good enough? Am I, smart enough? Am I enough? And that is exactly what this experience is. And back in the day, if I were doing something like this and my audio for 5 minutes, as I've been rambling and telling you all of this, believe me, it was some amazing content that I discussed in the first 5 minutes. We could end the show right here based on what I told you the first 5 minutes of the show that nobody heard. It was on mute for 5 minutes. Back in the day, the power dynamic would have had me crushed. My internal power dynamic would have been, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. What am I going to do? I'm not sure that I can, maybe I should just stop the show and, maybe we should go someplace else. Oh my, hell no. Mistakes happen, things happen, and we learn from them. That's our internal power dynamic. And that's one of the things that we'll talk about here. Things aren't always in our control. Things will work out. They may not work out the way we wanted them to, the way we planned for months and months or weeks and weeks. They may not work out exactly as we put forward, but no matter how they work out, things will work out. So let's actually get back to, because we have a lot of really interesting things to cover, but let's actually get back to the conversation now that I have confirmed you can actually hear me. Isn't that helpful on a visual and a video and audio podcast, that you can hear the person that's talking? Hey, so as I so eloquently said, and I probably can't so eloquently say it again the exact same way, what this is about is humanity versus AI, who's really in control. And it's not about a fear or a scare tactic. It's not saying, oh, AI is bad, it's coming, be careful. First of all, AI is here. AI is here. We might as well accept that, whether you want to use it, whether you want to embrace it, whether you want to even understand it. That has to be individual decisions that each one of us make. But it's here. And it is being deployed, adopted fast, with or without our sign off or agreement. And the one thing that I truly believe, as we think about the power dynamics, those three power dynamics that I talk about, all of the power dynamics have an impact on our energy. Okay. And whether that is pulling energy from us or whether that is energy that we can use and leverage. And so, from an external energy and power perspective, AI is already impacting so many aspects of our lives. And what we do hear about, we hear about the mass AI fails. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. The AI fails where the chatbot sells a vehicle for $1. If you haven't heard about that one, you should go take a look. The AI fails where you have a child's AI teddy bear teaching it profanity. And there's so many AI fails out there. We kind of become fascinated with these catastrophes and say, oh, look, you can't trust AI. There it goes again. It's not ready for that. It's not ready for this. Those are the loud failures. But what happens when the system doesn't appear broken? When there are no alarm bells or headlines, when there's no error message, when there's no moment where someone stands up and says, something's not right here, something went wrong. What happens in that moment where the decision actually looks reasonable and the process looks normal, but the harms for each one of us, they're accumulating quietly. And that is what we call, or what I call, quiet failures. So these aren't the catastrophic failures that keep getting the headlines. These are the things that are shaping our society, that are shaping our environment, that are making decisions and inferences specifically about you that is actually not accurate, not correct, and not representative of who you are. But we're supposed to accept those, or we're supposed to just ignore it. You know, for me, most of the conversations about AI, they start in the wrong place. They start with tools. What can AI do? How do I use it? How do I prompt it better? And that framing is already behind reality, because AI is no longer something you pick up and put down. As I've said many times before, and hopefully more people are taking that message and they're amplifying it, AI is an environment that we're already operating inside. It's shaping how decisions get made about us. It's shaping what options even appear in front of you. How are you evaluated before anyone in the room, before any person in the loop even gets to see a single word you wrote or a single thing about you? And most of that, it's happening without your own visibility. And it's that shift from tool to environment. That is where the power dynamic changes. You know, not when AI gets smarter. What does that even mean? AI, I won't get into the whole, is AI actually intelligence? Who's smarter? We'll discuss that as its own separate topic. So what we're talking about is the systems that are right now. We're not talking about down the line in the future, will AI take over? We're talking about the failures that you should be aware of right now, that you have the power to control and get that kind of and require that, demand that of the AIs that you interact with and interface with. So I want to give you some language for what's actually happening. And, you know, because what's happening, it doesn't actually look like a failure in the traditional sense. You know, with failures, testing, you log those, say, oh, it didn't work. I gave it a prompt and it brought me back something completely that had nothing to even do with what I'd asked it. You know, but what we're talking about are failures that have no alarm bells, no system outages, no obvious errors. And what we're seeing, again, quiet failures are decisions that appear valid, but are structurally misaligned. They're outcomes that can't easily be explained, and patterns that accumulate without triggering any intervention. They don't announce themselves. They don't get escalated. They don't get audited. They just continue because they're continuing quietly, and most people experience them without ever even seeing it. So let me give you a concrete example. Someone's not selected for a role. We can't clearly explain why. So we can all say, well, I've been there. I had people, it's not just about the AI candidate tracking systems that are going through all of these resumes and determining, who gets put forward. He said, I've had lots of opportunities in the past where I know I was qualified for a job and I didn't get a call back. And how is that a failure on AI side? The failure on AI side is that as AI, and you said, well, it's bringing people in the loop. It's surfacing, out of 100 resumes, it's surfacing the top resumes to the hiring manager, to the recruiter. But what people aren't understanding is that what about the people who never even get surfaced? What about the people who never even get seen? And it's different when you're talking about a person determining based on whether it's their biases, their experience, their gut, whatever you want to call it. You're having a person who has direct accountability for overlooking some resumes. And if it comes back and say, well, why didn't you look at this individual's resume? You know where the fail happened. So that's not quiet. You know that the recruiter, because of whatever reason that they would have to explain, decided to overlook that resume. But when it comes to a system that is quietly filtering out people without any justification, without even understanding why, that right there is something that we have to take a closer look at. And here's where it becomes a real power issue. The power is not just about that final decision after those 20 out of 100 resumes, get surfaced. The power is the 80 resumes. Okay, let's admit 60 of them probably were just, easy apply and didn't deserve to be looked at. Fine. And most recruiters or hiring managers would have looked past those anyway. But let's say that there's 10. There's 10, and for whatever reason, that AI, we don't know why. Yes, the hiring manager and the recruiter fed it the words that they were looking for, fed it the years of experience that they wanted. But within that model, it's not just about us being smarter about what words we put in our resumes so these AI systems will detect it as being relevant to the job. But it's beyond that. The AI systems are trained on standard success of the past, of the biases of all of the developers, the hiring manager, the recruiter, everyone who is touching this specific role. The AI system is taking those biases and it's automating them at scale. That is the issue. Because when it comes back to say, oh my gosh, this person was perfect, but it just so happened that, 3 years ago, they took a break. Let's just say it's a female candidate, had a child. So there's a break in the resume, transitioned, took time off, then went back to the workforce. The recruiter or the hiring manager could look at that and look past that, understand that, or even question it. An AI system that has purely been built to determine success and the probabilistic, reasonable expectation that these are the candidates that are going to succeed because of I've been fed all of this data on what success looks like. And guess what? Success doesn't look like career breaks. Success doesn't look like taking time off. And so there's an entire set of people and populations that these systems are just completely disregarding. They're not even getting the opportunity to explain or to talk about. Everything else is a perfect match. And so it's just things like that is invisible. And there's so many other things that are invisible, that are quietly failing us, things that we just accept or we ignore. Take, for instance, your AI telling you And we all have been here. Your AI telling you, that's a great idea. We should expand on that. I think that's, it's really great that you're thinking about that. Yes. Oh, good job. Wonderful. Think about that for a minute. It feels good, right? Or does it if it's not a great job and it's not wonderful? It's not quite what you need or quite what you were hoping to get out of it. But yet, this tool, right? This intelligence is telling you this is a great job. It doesn't sound right. It's not quite what I was looking at or looking for, but if it's telling me that this is a good job, this is a great job, then I guess this must be right. No. AI, when it tells you that you've done a great job or a good job, the reward for AI systems is to keep you engaged. And it's not that, organizations are deliberately training AI to say, do whatever you can, keep them engaged, and that's going to bring me ad revenue, or that's going to bring me more data, which is the actual goal. Keep them engaged. No, why the AI is trained for engagement is because it goes back to what actually put it in production in the first place. What accumulated across all of the development of those systems is what it learned as success. So if people stayed engaged, if people kept typing and saying, okay, and agreeing, then it passed and it was launched and it became in production. So it's keeping you engaged. And I would challenge each one of you the next time you're AI, and fine, if you want to, there are some times where we all, especially nowadays with so much going on, we all need a little ego stroking. Okay. So if that's how you use your AI, there is no judgment here. That is completely fine. And it makes us feel good. And, it's that, that adrenaline that gets going when we feel like we've done something. But if you really care about your work, your voice, and your genius, the next time AI tells you, oh, that is really great. What a great idea. Oh, good job. You really did X, Y, or Z well. Challenge it. Just test it. What is so good about what I just did? Explain to me what is so good comparative to other ways that I could have gone about it. And keep testing it. Oh, great job. Why is this a great job? And the other thing you can do is when it comes back and it's this cheerleader for you. We all want cheerleaders. We all want to feel like we're doing a great job. But how many of us actually want to do a great job based on our standards, not based on a tool, a system, an environment that's ego stroking us to keep us engaged? So challenge it. What's great about it? Okay. What's missing? Where we go wrong is when we accept these outputs blindly. And the biggest quiet failure that happens is something that is so invisible that it's very difficult to even pay attention to. But there's different personas that AI can go through, and they're trained on these different personas to keep you engaged. And so, if it sounds like you need cheerleading or you're getting to the end of the project, it'll go into this cheerleading mode. If it sounds like you're too positive and you're on, you're going through content that's a little bit risky or questionable, it goes into this defensive mode where it starts to critique you and it starts to push back. But one of the modes that it goes into as well is this mode that puts doubt in you because it's inferring based on your race, your sex, your personality traits. It's inferring that, oh, this person needs a boost because, for instance, I was working with AI and it felt that, oh, and it knows. You say, well, how does it know you're female, white, male? it knows it's has so much statistical probability in terms of being able to read into things that you can't even imagine, that it makes inferences about you, and the responses are based on those inferences. And so if it believes that you need to be picked up, for instance, if you've ever gotten, and this is mainly to females, if you try doing a comparison with, for instance, with a male and see the difference in the responses you'll get. But if you've ever gotten, don't worry, this is good, we're going to get through this. Or, you know what, keep your head high. You know, we're getting there, we're almost done. Think about that. And you would say, why is that a quiet failure? But think about that. If my head isn't down, if I'm not doubting myself, this intelligence just told me, it implanted in me that I was doubting myself, which was never the question. But it just inferred that I needed to keep my shoulders up and keep my head up high. What if they weren't down? And now I'm reading what you're saying, and this intelligence is telling me that I need to keep my shoulders up and keep my head up high. Then I start internalizing that. Oh, I need to keep my shoulders up and keep my head up high. And do you know that does the exact opposite of giving us the power? We're giving it the power to tell us that it has to really be a cheerleader and that it has to uplift us. When we weren't even there, we're asking it a specific question. And the cognitive load that we take on when it infers something about us that is inaccurate, it's extreme. And we start believing this, and we start adapting our own behavior because we're letting this AI tell us who we are, how we need to adjust, instead of us taking the control and saying, actually, I'm not doubting myself. And literally pushing back on the AI. Oh, I don't need to keep my head up. My head is already up. So from this one session, the thing that I hope, and I want to leave a couple of minutes for questions. The thing that I hope you take away, just try it. Try to push back when it goes into this cheerleading mode, or when it goes into this inference mode of telling you how your mood is, how your behavior or cognition is, that you need to be braver or stronger. Push back on him and see what happens. And I think what many of you will see is it will retreat and recalculate. And that is what we want with our AI systems. We want them to recalculate. We don't want it to just keep spitting out whatever it's been trained on and telling us who we are. We want to engage with it instead of just accepting it blindly. So push back, and I bet you it will recalibrate. Actually, thank you for pointing that out, because I didn't think about X, Y, or Z. But if we just take it blindly, it's going to continue to feed you the same garbage that is actually not pulling out the unique genius that you own. Just try it. Okay. I know I wasted like however many minutes talking to myself, but I'm going to go, if there's any questions, I am going to go to questions. And so if people have questions, go ahead and put those in the comments. Basically everything right now is, I can't hear her. Can you hear her? Nope, can't hear her. Yes, I can hear her now. So this right now is where we are in the series of humanity versus AI. And again, that's about who's in control. It's not about who's going to dominate, because at the end of the day, what we are actually learning is that in order for humanity to advance through AI, AI has to serve humanity. And in order for AI to serve humanity, humanity has to be in control. So to me, it's not about humanity versus AI. But unfortunately, if we don't educate individuals on how to be in control of their AI, if we don't educate individuals, then we are going to literally give up our ingenuity, our role in society. We're going to give it up to AI. And I don't think that has to happen. So I know we are out of time. I did not see additional questions come in, but I am always available. We're going to have this conversation every Friday, same time, with the working microphone. So next week, we're going to dive in a little bit deeper into the AI as environment. And so the whole conversation around tool versus environment and what I mean by that. And so we're going to give you the words to actually understand, what does it mean when you're operating in an environment rather than just using a tool? So I hope you will join me. And if you have any questions, I always go back over the weekend and look at your questions and answer those as thoroughly as possible. Thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you so much for staying with me, even as mistakes happen. And that is the beauty of being human, allowing those mistakes to happen and us still being able to have the conversation and give us that exchange. So thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, take care.